Hey everybody! In this video I'm going to show you a top secret method of creating an invisible grid. So what I have here is just a piece of toned paper that I am going to eventually create a drawing on. Now I could just draw my grid right on this paper and then erase it later, but there are some advantages to not being able to see those things. For example, if you're working on a toned paper that maybe you painted, you would have some issues maybe erasing that grid later. Or in the case of this paper that I'm using, it's kind of soft and it tends to indent, so it doesn't erase very well. So the secret ingredient for creating an invisible grid is not using our pencil, but we're actually going to make our grid out of string. And we're going to tape it onto our paper to create a removable grid. So what I'm going to do to start with is I'm actually going to measure out my grid by making tick marks all the way around the image on the tape. And I have a gigantic ruler, unfortunately, so I have to make do with what I have here. I just want to make sure everything is lined up perfectly. And then I'm going to make tick marks with my pencil just on the tape. I'm not going onto the paper at all. Then I'm going to do the same thing at the top. Now, instead of rotating my paper, I find it really helpful to just slide my ruler straight up to do it, because in the event that your measuring is off, or maybe you have like a ½ inch or something on here, we're going to make sure that those marks are in the exact same location. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the side. So I'm going to line up my ruler with the edge, and I'm going to make tick marks every inch going up on the tape. And again on the other side. And I'm just using a 1-inch grid, not doing anything complicated with my math. So from here, what we need is our string. I'm just using some upholstery string or thread. It's just a little bit thicker than a regular sewing thread, but you know, dental floss, sewing thread, anything like that works just fine. Anything you can see really is what we need. So I'm going to cut strips of this, and then I'm going to tape it right so it lines up with the tick marks that I made. And I'm just going to go all the way up and all the way down, making a grid with string. So I've cut just a few strands of thread to speed up my process a little bit, but I want to talk just a little bit about how we're going to tape this. So I just have some more of this blue painter's tape, and for each side I'm going to need a couple pieces. So what I'm going to do is line up my thread with the line or the tick mark, and I'm going to tape it in place. Okay, so I've taped it in place, and now I have a little bit of thread hanging off the end. If I pull on this, it's going to pull it out. So I want to make sure it stays in nice, so I'm going to fold my thread over, and I'm going to put another piece of tape down, and that's going to kind of lock the thread in place. So I'm just going to do this going across, do the exact same thing, and then fold it over and tape that second piece down. So there's one thread down, a lot more to go. So I'm just going to repeat this exact same process all the way up and across my image. All right, so I have created my grid right now, and as you can see, it kind of moves around, so it's going to take a little getting used to when you are drawing with it. However, it's going to be so awesome when you don't have to erase anything and you can just peel it right off. So I'm just going to start doing my grid drawing. All right, I think I have everything mapped out the way that I want it. And, if you are still really new to grid drawing and you want a little bit of extra help explaining the process of grid drawing, you can check out my other grid drawing videos where I do the measuring and the breakdown of everything in the drawing. But for now, like this is where we're at, so I think I have everything in place. So what I can do then is, of course, make sure everything is good. I'm stepping back, I'm looking at it from a distance to make sure it looks the way I want it to, and then I can start taking everything off. If I remove these strings carefully enough, I can reuse them. But now we can see that I've drawn this out. It's got no grid lines. Everything is nice and clean. My background's really clean. I'm not going to have to erase anything. So the invisible grid method with our secret ingredient of string. Hopefully this method works out for you as you are working on your drawing endeavors. But thanks for watching and keep creating.